Welcome to another version of Unpacking with the Pack Scout. Today, we're taking a look at sustainable, flexible packaging. So, why this might be something that's of interest to have a look at is sustainability is essentially where cost, capacity, consumer need, and commercial accessibility all connect when it comes to needs. If you take a look at the market, what you find is that 34% of the roughly 4.2 trillion packaging units in 2023 are made in flexible packaging. Companies at the moment are not even 50% of the way to their US packaging pact numbers of 100% recycle, reduce, compost by 2025. Very few companies will hit that target, but it remains a focus. If you look at the pie chart, you'll see that about 15% of the packaging mix is paper, about 30% is rigid plastics, about 11% metal, 11% glass, and then, yes, 34% flexible packaging. So it is more than a third of the entire packaging mix worldwide. The more that flexible packaging can move towards a circular economy, the larger the impact on waste reduction, on emissions reduction, and resource efficiency. So as this is the biggest part of the pie, anything that can be done to make that as recyclable as possible has a wonderful and immediate impact. This also falls in line with this move that we're seeing over the last few years from a linear to a circular economy, which benefits the recycle-ready structures, or anything that is recycle-ready benefits from the circular economy, where you're looking at a change from take, make, dispose to make, collect, recycle, make, collect, recycle, and try and keep it in that circle as long as possible. Now, this is a very important slide. So Systemic did a exhaustive report looking at the reshaping of plastics and the pathways to a circular, climate neutral plastic system. In this case, it's in Europe, but most of their findings apply to the US as well. The main findings that they had were that if no change was made, then you're looking at an overall emissions rate of 112. Virgin fossil use in megatons is 44. With the current actions that they're suggesting, which are things like substitution or replacement or reduction, they have the possibility to lead to 33% circularity, down to 92% emissions, and then 37. So there's already a drop of about kind of 10 to 15% in just this current actions. As you look down the table, you'll see things like reduction and substitution, all the way down to a net zero system change or a retrofit system change. Net zero system change has the ability to make the biggest impact, as in fact does recycling. Circularity, of course, is one of the goals, but recycling alone would already pretty much halve the virgin fossil fuel usage and drop the GHG emissions by nearly 2/3. So that is a pretty impressive one to be heading towards. So the different materials vary, and the energy requirements are different for both of them. So while the communication from a press or social media or news sites would have us believe that plastic is the bane on our existence and must be immediately removed, this is not in fact the correct way of looking at it. Paper, for example, is thicker than plastic, about 150%. But this can significantly increase depending on the gauge or the width or the thickness of the board that's involved. Paper can only be recycled about 6 to 10 times before it can no longer be reused. Plastic can be infinitely recycled without losing any performance. Print, so more ink is needed to register with paper as the holes in the surface need to fill before the ink can stick. Plastic does not have this issue. It's a smooth surface for the ink to bind with. Paper moves through, well, printing, but frankly, every section of the manufacturing process slower, because it is a thicker film or thicker piece that is going through the system. So if you think about something that is 1 centimeter, something that's 1.5 centimeters, is every time it turns around on itself, you are doubling the width, the thickness of that film. And for things like plastic, it's not such a problem, or metal, or the kind of flexible packaging, it's not such an issue. But in paper's case, that very quickly adds up. So it means that you are left with a very massive roll that is heavy, has taken longer to make, and is probably at least 50%, if not 100%, of the size of something that will be the equivalent in a flexible plastic packaging application. As it's thicker, there's less material on the rolls, more trucks are needed to ship those rolls to the destinations. It moves through converting slower, which means it uses more energy and electricity and resources to make a lesser amount of paper and plastic. So to generate like-for-like quantities takes more energy, it takes more resources, and it leads to a significantly higher emissions rate. So why are we talking about this mindset for flexible packaging? You need to think about resource efficiency. You need to think about industry alignment. No single person or player can do anything by themselves. So it's going to require a lot of stakeholders and a lot of players to be involved together. Have to change the perspective from winning to continuing to play. So this is this infinite mindset. This is the idea that nobody is in business to win at being in business. The only way that you can win this game is to keep on playing. So the more companies think about, rather than what their quarterly forecasts and revenue projections are going to be, and they think more to themselves, am I going to be in business, or what do I do to be in business in 60, 100, 1,000, a million years' time? Obviously, a million is taking it very far, but even 50 years' time, what do I need to do to be in business in 50 years' time? And that will change the way that you make your products. That will change the way that you market and use your resources, because it will make you more aware of the fact that these things need to keep on lasting. They can't just be used up and then thrown away. When we look at sustainability from a consumer perspective, consumers need to understand what is being done that is sustainable in language that they can comprehend and in a way that they can understand how it benefits them. So they understand recycle ready. They understand it's intuitive how to dispose of something properly that says recycle, put it into this bin, this stream, this place, and it will be taken care of. Monomer materials provide a recycle ready compliant structure that replaces without having to compromise on integrity or quality or performance or barrier or shelf life or anything. Clarity matters. Sustainability is an infinite game, so you have to keep on playing to be in it. And the most important thing is to pick it up, because none of the companies that are making this packaging are leaving it in landfill. So human beings, we drop something on the ground and think it doesn't matter, but the more people do that and the more that behavior is replicated worldwide, the more litter left. And then ideally, you want to be able to do all this with a material that runs on existing lines without needing the requirements to buy more machinery or invest in heavier capital expenditure. Some benefits here to give you an idea of why certain films in flexible packaging would benefit from either a biaxial process, a machine directing process, or just a blown film. So here you've got an idea of the different properties. Machine direction, you get a higher heat resistance, which allows for higher packaging speed. You get a higher stiffness, which improves the film printing registration. And it's got outstanding optics, so it doesn't have haze. It's not gray, it's not filmy, it's not difficult to see through the film. Here's an example of all of the different categories of plastics with how they perform side by side, just to give people an idea of really where some of the benefits are, what the pros and cons are of each one of these different ones being used. And then market pricing, to what extent would you be willing to pay more for sustainable packaging for packaged food? As a global theme, time and time and time again, we keep on hearing that consumers are willing to pay more for sustainable packaging. It's not actually true. The thing they're willing to do is to answer the question in the way that puts them in the best light. The reality is that we won't pay more for something just because it's sustainable. We'll pay more for something that is sustainable and benefits us in another way. It maintains the value or improves the value or is more efficient or convenient to use, or somehow it is delivering more than just being a product and it's sustainable, then we'll buy it. But most of us these days don't have the resources to be able to simply buy whatever we want to buy. We buy things because we're constrained by a budget. And sustainability, adding cost into a market that's currently watching their wallet, is not necessarily the best way forward. Example of some of the structures that we're seeing today and what they would look like if they're moved into all polyethylene sustainable monomaterial products. So you would still have, in the case of the snack market, you've been going from 1, 2, 3, 4 layers to 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. There's no change. Functional layers have a slight change in how they're organized. In the stand-up pouch, you're seeing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the functional layers and the structure doesn't necessarily change too much. If you have a monomer material in the pressure sensitive label market or stand-up pouch pressure sensitive labels, you can see how the structure might be, in some cases, narrowed down to only needing one monomaterial structure. Otherwise, you keep the functional layers and the performance, but you're reducing the width of the overall structure. And that's it for another of our flexible packaging, unpacked, I should say, conversations. I'm going to be going through sustainability in a wider set of videos over the next few days. And I again look forward to your thoughts and comments below. Thank you.